The School of Theology and Religious Studies and Center for Gender, Martin Luther Christian University MLCU, on March 14th organized a seminar on the theme Gender Inclusivity, Embracing the Differences. The seminar intended to gain insights from various perspectives to understand the purpose of each individual as being wonderfully created in the image of God, to learn from the lived experience of communities and make efforts to create a society where every individual can live with dignity, a society where every being can grow independently in communion with others. Lastly, the seminar also aimed at understanding the current laws related to gender rights.
It's widely known that, cultural factors are often a barrier to talk in a healthy way about human bodies. uh, you know, and sexuality is a key aspect of our own bodies. And so, how we as faith communities can find a way to talk in a healthy way about the unique way in which God has created each one of us. Each faith community has its own way of doing it. And unfortunately, we in India have not explored that aspect. So here we are, looking at ways in which we can talk in a healthy way about human body and what happens to human body. And why should there be what are some of those cultural factors that has not helped us in being able to talk in a healthy way about it. So it's that is what is being explored here in this seminar, and I hope that this seminar would be a starting point in being able to find ways in which we as faith communities, as Christian communities, can talk in a healthy way, whether it be revisiting biblical scriptures, revisiting our own traditional ways of having understood, human body, those sort of things. Talking about same-sex marriages is not ideally, a healthy, topic to start with. Okay, in a context where so many cultural barriers have, not been helpful to talk about human body. Let's understand ourselves first, and then talk about, marriage and whatever comes in a marital relationship. So, yeah, this is something more than that. Again, we have to revisit the way we have understood the Bible. We have to revisit how we have understood the Bible and relate that to the realities around. That has not happened in a healthy way. You see, the medical knowledge today tells us about diversities in the way in which human beings are created. Okay? There are children who are born with intersex identities, which means they are neither a male nor a female. Now, how do you apply that to biblical scriptures where we usually read and understand that God created man and woman? Where is intersex? Right? So, it depends on how we understood God's creation in diversities, and reread those scriptures where we understand diversities, where God, the first human being that God created was an intersex person.
Does it?
Yes. It's not a male. There is no use of gender in the first human being that God created. If you look at the Hebrew translation, or the original Hebrew God created Ha-Adama, which has no gender. Ha-Adama simply means a creature made of mud. A creature made of mud. Okay? But what is important is that creature made of mud was made in the image of God. In the image of God. It was only after God looked at that first creature and thought about having a companion did the gender come up, and there from Ha-Adama is created a male and a female. So it depends how we reread scriptures to be able to understand that this child who is born with ambiguous sexual organs, okay, who is neither a male nor a female, how do we look at it biblically? How do we understand biblically? Creation stories have to be relooked in those aspects, and to be able to understand that like the psalmist in Psalm 139 verse 14 says, I praise you, God, for I am fearfully and beautifully created. I praise you, God, because I am fearfully and beautifully created. You knew me even before I came into the womb of my own mother. Okay? My days on this earth were written in your book. That's what the psalmist in 139 says. I want to ask, which book are we referring to there? God has already created human beings in God's image. So that's what we have to understand, that God has created human beings in God's image. There is no gender involved there. You can't apply gender in understanding God. There is no gender for God, neither male nor female. Though one even sees the male gender being used more often in Bible, but you can't apply a gender and apply that to God. So that's what. How have we understood scriptures? Again, like I said, I don't think we are at a point where we have understood the human body as one should, and thereby go into social relationships and marriage. So I don't think we are in a healthy point of time where we can talk about marriage when we can't talk in a healthy way about our own human bodies. So God's plan for marriage has to do with companionship, more with companionship than what happens in the bed. Okay?
Also the Bible
than
is
procreation. So when you understand God's plan in the form of companionship, that is God's plan for every human being, whether it's a male or a female. Companionship is more than just a sexual relationship between two human beings. So that's how one should look at marriage and understand marriage as God's plan for every human being, as something that is so fundamental to human relationships, and thereby appreciate marriage in a healthy way, rather than limiting marriage into procreation and what happens between two individuals in bed. Reproduction is not applied to every human being, not necessarily. We have today an example in India about the first transgender couple who have gone through having a child of their own, right? That's possible. So you see, perhaps our country is not ready for all that.
but they may argue that that won't be a natural way of reproduction, no?
That's what. A solution cannot be found by arguments. A solution is found by introspection. Arguments don't lead us anywhere. It's about looking internally, looking around us, and appreciating God's purpose